Streetlights are refracting in the water on the glass, a blurry neon painting of the cars that slowly pass. I trace the falling water with my index fingertip, remembering the taste of the rain upon your lip. The room is completely dark except for the amber glow. I'm trapped inside a memory with nowhere else to go. The storm outside is nothing to the hurricane inside, a flood of heavy sorrow with no place left to hide. I'm counting window pane, raindrops falling in the dark, a melancholy rhythm for a devastated heart. They race each other down to the bottom of the frame, a million little teardrops that are calling out your name. I wanna push the glass away and let the weather in, because the cold is so much better than the state that I am in. We used to stand right here and watch the city wash away, safe inside our sanctuary, keeping the world at bay. You'd wrap your arms around my waist and rest upon my chest. I always felt like I was the most incredibly blessed. Now the glass is freezing cold and the apartment is so still. I'm staring at the weather on this lonely windowsill. I press my forehead to the pane to cool my burning skin. I'm losing every battle that I ever tried to win. I'm counting window pane, raindrops falling in the dark, a melancholy rhythm for a devastated heart. They race each other down to the bottom of the frame, a million little teardrops that are calling out your name. I wanna push the glass away and let the weather in, because the cold is so much better than the state that I am in. Just falling rain, washing it I bought a pack of envelopes and a dozen shiny stamps, riding by the light of my flickering desk lamp. I poured my apologies onto the college rule page forwarding address to keep me in the dark, to build a massive fortress around your fragile heart. Now my closet's getting full of these paper tragedies, a post office collection of my deepest agonies. I wanna burn the letters up and let the ashes fly, a paper cremation underneath the winter sky. Welcome to the dead letter office of my broken soul, where undelivered promises take a heavy bitter toll. Return to sender, address unknown, stamped across the front, a bureaucratic method for a truth so incredibly blunt. I'm sitting on a mountain of the words I couldn't say to a girl who packed her boxes up and moved so far away. Return to sender. Nobody home.
The platform is deserted, the ticket window closed. I'm shivering in the winter chill, frozen to the toes. The departure board is flashing that the final train is gone, and I am left to wait here for the breaking of the dawn. Had a ticket in my head to take me to your door, but I hesitated on the step, and now I have no more. I was so afraid of rejection, so afraid you turned me down, that I missed the only transport leading out of this ghost town. I'm stranded at the station in the middle of the night, a victim of my cowardice, a victim of my pride. The steel tracks stretch forever, disappearing in the gloom, leading to a paradise while I am in a tomb. I missed the final boarding call to make my heavy heart amend. Now I'm stranded at this station, waiting for the bitter end. I sit upon the wooden bench and pull my collar high, watching the frozen snowflakes fall from the heavy sky. I could have been halfway to you, drinking coffee on the train. Instead I'm sitting in the dark, wrestling with the pain. The iron rails are humming,
the train. Missed my chance.
Sitting on the top step, looking down the hall, listening to the silence bouncing off the plaster wall. The hallway light is broken, casting a heavy gloom, leading from the foyer to the empty living room. Every time the old house settles in the winter freeze, my broken, foolish heart drops right down to its knees. I swear I hear your footsteps creeping up the wooden flight, a sonic hallucination in the middle of the night. There are shadows on the staircase, creeping in the dark, moving to the rhythm of my devastated heart. I hold my breath and wait for you to turn the corner's bend, hoping that this nightmare is finally going to end. But it's just the moonlight shining through the window tree, playing cool cinematic, heavy tricks on me. I look at the banister we used to slide right down when we were the happiest, wildest kids in town. The framed photographs are hanging crooked on the wall, a tilted gallery of the pride before the fall. I wrap my arms around my knees and bury my tired face, a lonely, stranded hostage in this terrifying space. I wanna run down to the landing, turn the foyer light on high, to chase away the phantoms of your beautiful goodbye. There are shadows on the staircase, creeping in the dark, moving to the rhythm of my devastated heart. I hold my breath and wait for you to turn the corner's bend, hoping that this nightmare is finally going to end. But it's just the moonlight shining through the window tree, playing cool cinematic, heavy tricks on me. Just a trick.
trick of the light. Nobody's there.
The grocery store is closed, the shopping carts are chained. I'm standing in the concrete desert where the water has drained. The sodium lights are buzzing, casting a sickly yellow glow. There's absolutely nowhere left for a broken man to go. I park my car in the very back, away from all the street, accepting the heavy finality of this total defeat. The asphalt stretches out for 100 empty yards, a massive brutal table for a game of losing cards. There are echoes in the parking lot, bouncing off the stone, a massive concrete canvas for a man who is alone. I scream your name into the dark and listen to it fade, a sonic representation of the terrible mistakes I made. It bounces off the brick wall and comes right back to me, a boomerang of sorrow in an empty yellow sea. We used to sit upon the hood and drink from paper cups, talking about the future when our luck was finally up. We said we'd leave this town behind and drive out to the coast, but now I'm just an empty shell, a lonely wandering ghost. I kick an empty soda can and listen to it roll, a hollow metallic clatter that matches my empty soul. The maitre d' is smiling, asking if I'm waiting long. I tell him that she's coming, though I know that I am wrong. He leads me to the corner booth, the one we always book. I try to hide the devastation in my empty look. He lights the little candle sitting in the center glass, and leaves me with the menu and the shadows of the past. There's a folded linen napkin on the empty seat across, a perfect little monument to my enormous loss. It's just a table for one in a very crowded room, eating in the center of an overwhelming gloom. The waiter pours the water, but he doesn't meet my eye. He sees the tragic story of a long and hard goodbye. I'm raising up my crystal glass to toast an empty chair, a solitary diner, breathing in the heavy air. We celebrated anniversaries, sitting in this booth, drinking red Italian wine and telling the whole truth. You'd hold my hand across the wood and smile in the light. I never could have pictured such a devastating night. The violin is playing a romantic sweeping tune, but it feels like a funeral march beneath the paper moon. I wanna tip the table over, shatter all the plates. I cannot bear the silence that this emptiness creates. It's just a table for one in a very crowded room, eating in the center of an overwhelming gloom. The waiter pours the water, but he doesn't meet my eye. He sees the tragic story of a long and hard goodbye. I'm raising up my crystal glass to toast an empty chair, a solitary diner, breathing in the heavy air. Check, please. Just me tonight. bottle of bourbon is completely empty on the floor. I'm sitting at the table, staring at the kitchen door. The sun is coming up, but my room is painted gray. A thick and heavy fog that won't ever blow away. I smoked a pack of cigarettes since midnight struck the bell. A chain-smoking resident in my own private hell. I watched the glowing cherry burn down to the filter tip. A fiery representation of the way you let me slip. There are ashes in the ashtray, piling up so high. A gray and dusty mountain of every single lie. We burn with the passion that was dangerously bright, but a fire that burns too fast cannot survive the night. I trace your initials in the soup with my fingertip, remembering the poison of your devastating lips. You always hated smoking. You told me I should quit, but since you left me stranded here, I cannot give a shit. It gives my trembling hands a little something else to do, besides reaching in the darkness and searching around for you. The smoke alarm is disconnected, sitting on the chair. Just a man and his nicotine in the heavy, silent devastating lips. Just smoke and ashes, burning took out all the stationery from the bottom drawer, the heavy textured paper
that you always used to adore. I sat at the kitchen table with a fountain pen in hand, trying to write a letter that would make you understand. But the words are all too heavy, the ink is much too dark to capture all the sorrow of a deeply wounded heart. So I fold the edges over, making wings out of the page, creating tiny vessels for my sorrow and my rage. I'm throwing paper airplanes from the balcony tonight, watching my apologies taking a desperate flight. They glide upon the midnight breeze, floating in the dark, hoping that the wind will carry them right to your heart. But they spiral to the pavement, crashing on the empty street, a fragile white surrender and a terrible defeat. I wrote a different memory on every single plane, one about the summer sun, one about the autumn rain. I folded up the laughter, I folded up the tears, I folded up the heavy weight of our forgotten years. I send them out the window, a squadron of regrets, praying for a miracle, praying you won't forget. I wanna build a real machine and fly across the sky to drop a million letters right before your very eye. I'm throwing paper airplanes from the balcony tonight, watching my apologies taking a desperate flight. They glide upon the midnight breeze, floating in the dark, hoping that the wind will carry them right to your heart. But they spiral to the pavement, crashing on the empty street, a fragile white surrender and a terrible defeat. Just paper on the ground, swept away. Temperature dropped below zero in the middle of the night. I'm standing in the driveway in the pale morning light. I've got a plastic scraper in my freezing gloveless hand, trying to clear a vision in this devastated land. The frost has formed a crystal web across the heavy glass,
drive this car down to the beaches in the heat, with the radio blasting and the world beneath our feet. Now the leather seats are stiff, the steering wheel is ice, and I am paying off the debt of a heavy, lonely price. I turn the ignition key and pray that it will start a mechanical resurrection for a deeply frozen heart. I wanna take a hammer to the glass and let the winter in. I cannot fight this freezing storm, I'm never gonna win. I'm staring through a frozen windshield, blinded to the white, trying to find a highway that will lead me to the light. The heater is broken, the engine is so cold, just like the tragedy of a story growing old. I scrape a little circle just to see the road ahead, but the landscape is as empty as the final words we said. Just chipping the ice, can't see the road. The stage is empty, the arena is completely bare. There's just a cloud of heavy smoke hanging in the air. I'm sitting on the monitor, my guitar across my knee, playing to an audience consisting just of me. I've sung 145 songs about your face, trying to fill the cavern of this devastating space. My fingers are calloused, my voice is incredibly raw. I'm the most dedicated things to say. Just fading feedback. The show is over. I'm standing on the corner where we said our last goodbye. Water running down my face, falling from a bruised up sky. I'm wearing that old leather coat you bought me in the spring. It used to make me feel so strong, like I could conquer anything. But now the hide is soaking wet, heavy on my weary frame. A waterlogged armor that can't protect me from the shame. The streetlights turn the puddles into pools of liquid gold, but my shivering body has never felt this incredibly cold. devastating puzzle for repair of broken hearts. You wrote it in a fury on a Sunday afternoon and tore it all to shreds beneath the pale and silent moon. I gathered up the confetti and laid it on the floor, trying to resurrect the love that walked out the door. I've got a roll of clear tape and a magnifying glass, trying to rebuild the future from a shattered past. I'm taping up the pieces of a love letter tonight, trying to put the words together in the fading light. I match the cursive letters, the teardrops on the blue, desperately searching for a final piece of you. It's a fragile mosaic of the anger and the pain, a paper resurrection standing in the pouring rain. I found the word forever, torn completely in half. It almost makes me wanna cry, almost makes me laugh. I stick the ragged edges back together with the glue, but there are sentences missing, sentences I never knew. Did you say you hated me, or did you say you cared? I'm reading between the jagged lines of what we used to share. I try to read the paragraph right before the end, but the paper is too damaged for this broken man to mend. I'm taping up the pieces of a love letter tonight, trying to put the words together in the fading light. I match the cursive letters, the teardrops on the blue, desperately searching for a final piece of you. It's a fragile mosaic of the anger and the pain, a paper resurrection standing in the pouring rain. Just ripped paper, jagged edges. Found an old micro cassette inside the desk drawer, a tiny piece of plastic that I couldn't just ignore. It's a recording of the message that you left me in the fall, when you called to say you loved payphone in the hall. I put it in the player and I pressed the little key, bracing for the impact of our vocal history. The ribbon is so fragile, thinner than a human hair, but it holds the heavy weight of an absolute despair. I'm listening to magnetic memories spinning in the night, a technological ghost bringing you back into the light. I hear the static of a payphone, the traffic on the street, and your beautiful soft voice making my tragedy complete. I rewind it and I play it over and over again, trapped inside an analog loop of unrelenting pain. I'll see you in the evening, that's the last thing that you say before the line goes dead and you completely fade away. But the evening turned to winter and the winter turned to years, and I have watched this tiny tape in 1,000 bitter tears. The mechanism clicks, the wheels are spinning round and round, producing the most beautiful and devastating sound. The tape is getting caught inside the little metal wheel. I'm losing the only piece of you that I can actually feel. Listening to magnetic memories spinning in the night, a technological ghost bringing you back into the light. I hear the static of the payphone, the traffic on the street, and your beautiful soft voice making my tragedy complete. I rewind it and I play it over and over again, trapped inside an analog loop of unrelenting pain. Just a voice in the machine, fading in the static. Sitting in the diner on the edge of Interstate 9, drinking bitter coffee, pretending I feel fine. The waitress wipes the counter and gives a heavy sigh. She knows I'm just a ghost who's waiting here to die. I look up at the wall above, the greasy kitchen door, at the glowing advertisement forgotten liquor store. The hands upon the dial haven't moved a single inch since the moment that you left me in a devastating pinch. It's a broken neon clock glowing in the dark. Time is standing absolutely still inside my shattered heart. It says a quarter after 3, the exact same time you left, leaving me completely hollowed out and so bereft. The world outside is spinning, the days are rushing by, but I am trapped inside a minute, waiting for a lie. I drop a silver quarter in the tabletop machine, playing the saddest country ballad that you've ever seen. I wanna reach up to the glass and push the heavy hand, force the universe to move, force it to understand that I cannot stay frozen in the moment of the break. But time is a cruel master that I simply cannot shake. The buzzing of the neon is a drill inside my brain. I'm a permanent resident in the kingdom of the pain. It's a broken neon clock glowing in the dark. Time is standing absolutely still inside my shattered heart. It says a quarter after 3, the exact same time you left, leaving me completely hollowed out and so bereft. The world outside is spinning, the days are rushing by, but I am trapped inside a minute, waiting for a lie. Quarter after 3, forever. The November sky is pouring down upon the avenue, turning every colorful neon sign into a shade of blue. I'm walking with my collar up, head bowed to the street, trying to disguise the heavy weight of my defeat. The people rush right past me, holding their umbrellas high, while I am just a shadow watching the world go by.
my face concealed behind these lenses, dark and black, so nobody can see the broken pieces that I lack. I'm wearing sunglasses in the rain, walking all alone, hiding all the bitter tears that I have never shown. It's a foolish little love for a vulnerable heart, trying to look incredibly strong while falling right apart. The drops hit the plastic frames, washing down my face, a cinematic tragedy in a lonely, crowded space. You always said I hid my feelings right behind a wall, that I would never open up, no matter who would call. And now I'm proving you were right on this devastating day, shutting out the universe since you walked away. The tinted glass turns everything into a midnight gray, a perfect visual for the things I cannot say. I wanna throw the glasses down and let the world look in, but I'm terrified to show them the state that I'm in. I'm wearing sunglasses in the rain, walking all alone, hiding all the bitter tears that I have never shown. It's a foolish little love for a vulnerable heart, trying to look incredibly strong while falling right apart. The drops hit the plastic frames, washing down my face, a cinematic tragedy in a lonely, crowded space. Just hiding the pain out in the
The cook is wiping down the grill, flipping off the light. The waitress counts her tip jar at the end of a heavy night. I'm sitting in the corner booth, sipping on a lukewarm cup, watching the neon open sign slowly powering up. It's 3 a.m. on Sunday, and the rain is coming down. I'm the very last customer in this lonely, sleeping town. The jukebox in the corner has gone completely dark and dead, leaving me alone with the echoing thoughts inside my head. the track. I wrap my hands around the mud to steal a little heat, staring at the empty vinyl of the opposite seat. We used to share a slice of pie and talk about our dreams before reality tore us apart right at the seams. I leave a $20 bill right beside the sugar glass, paying for the privilege of holding on to the past. The manager is jingling the keys right by the door. I guess I cannot wait here for a miracle anymore. It's closing time at the diner, and I'm refusing to go. Watching the city traffic moving incredibly slow. I told you I would meet you here, no matter what it takes. Now I'm dining on a heavy plate of my own mistakes. The waitress puts the chairs upon the tables in the back, while my train of thought is running completely off the track. Time to leave, walking into the night. Walking down the boulevard, collar pulled up high. Gray clouds are gathering in the November sky. I've got my Walkman clipped onto my faded denim belt, playing back the greatest love that I have ever felt. The orange sponge headphones are pressing on my ears, drowning out the city noise, drowning out my fears. The magnetic tape is spinning, pulling me back in time to a golden afternoon when you were totally mine. I've got tangled Walkman wires wrapping around my broken heart, a portable reminder of the day we fell apart. I'm listening to the mixtape you made me in July, a collection of the love songs that make me wanna cry. The cable is all twisted, snagging on my heavy coat, while the singer's tragic melody is lodged inside my throat. The batteries are dying, the tempo slowing down, a dragging, sluggish
the saddest man in town. I hit the rewind button, the mechanism jams, trapped inside the circuitry of our broken plans. I try to pull the tape out, but the ribbon starts to tear. A beautiful disaster in the freezing autumn air. I wanna smash the plastic player down upon the concrete floor, but I'm terrified to lose your voice forevermore. I've got tangled Walkman wires wrapping around my broken heart, a portable reminder of the day we fell apart. I'm listening to the mixtape you made me in July, a collection of the love songs that make me wanna cry. The cable is all twisted, snagging on my heavy coat, while the singer's tragic melody is lodged inside my throat. Just a broken tape, tangled up in you.
The kitchen is completely quiet. The faucet has a drip. I'm standing on the linoleum, biting my lower lip. The refrigerator is humming a steady low end tune, illuminated by the light of a pale and distant moon. I'm looking at the door right beside the grocery list, at the faded Polaroid of the very first time we kissed. It's held up by a plastic magnet from a seaside town, a cheap little souvenir that's holding my whole world down. It's just a magnet on the fridge, holding on to the past, a fragile paper memory that was never meant to last. The colors are turning yellow, the edges are curling tight, a snapshot of our daytime trapped inside my endless night. I trace the square border with a shaking fingertip, watching my sanity begin to slowly slip. You're laughing in the picture, your hair is blowing
with the wonder of a little child. We bought that magnet in the summer down in Caroline, when every single moment felt perfectly divine. Now the fridge is completely empty, except for a broken light, and I am starving for your affection in the middle of the night. I wanna pull the picture down and tear it into two, but I can't erase the evidence that I belong to you. It's just a magnet on the fridge, holding on to the past, a fragile paper memory that was never meant to last. The colors are turning yellow, the edges are curling tight, a snapshot of our daytime trapped inside my endless night. I trace the square border with a shaking fingertip, watching my sanity begin to slowly slip. Fading picture, hanging on by a thread.
The asphalt is a ribbon cutting through the desert sand. I'm driving like a fugitive across this barren land. The sun is dropping heavy on the edge of the divide, painting all the canyons in a bruised and purple pride. I got the windows rolled right down, the wind is screaming loud. I'm running from the memory of your face within the crowd. The dashboard clock is ticking, the miles are adding up. I'm drinking down the bitterness from a broken plastic cup. I'm driving straight into the faded horizon tonight, chasing the remnants of the disappearing light, trying to outrun the shadow of the things I couldn't be, hoping that the distance will finally set me free. The colors are all bleeding out, turning into black, and I know I'm never ever gonna turn this engine back. You told me I was reckless, that I couldn't settle down, that I would always be a ghost haunting a transient town. You wanted picket fences and a quiet, stable life, and I reach out my arm in the middle of the dark, looking for the fire, looking for the spark. But my fingers only touch the freezing cotton sheet, a devastating end to a victory incomplete. The street lamp casts a shadow through the window blind, a lonely visual for a man who's lost his mind. The digital alarm clock flashes red in the quiet room, casting a bloody glow upon my solitary tomb. I'm staring at the cold side of the bed, replaying all the angry, bitter words we said. There's a canyon in the mattress where you used to lay before you packed your bags and threw it all away. I pulled the heavy blankets up around my freezing chin, but blankets cannot warm the freezing state that I am in. Your pillow still smells like vanilla and the rain, a beautiful aroma that only brings me pain. I trace the empty indentation where you used to sleep, a quiet little valley where the shadows slowly creep. I close my eyes and try to pull your phantom to my chest, but you're 1,000 miles away, and I can get no rest. I wanna rip the sheets right off and throw them in the street. I cannot bear the emptiness of this massive defeat. I'm staring at the cold side of the bed, replaying all the angry, bitter words we said. There's a canyon in the mattress where you used to lay before you packed your bags and threw it all away. I pull the heavy blankets up around my freezing chin, but blankets cannot warm the freezing state that I am in. Just an empty space, so incredibly pull the telephone down from the kitchen wall, sitting on the linoleum, waiting for the call. I stretch the heavy wire across the empty floor, staring at the handle of the locked and bolted door. The yellow receiver is heavy in my hand, a useless little instrument I try to understand. I wrap the coiled wire around my trembling hand, trapped inside a prison that I didn't even plan. We're just tangled chords and broken words tonight, twisted up in knots without a single end in sight. I try to pull it straight, but it springs right back again, a physical reminder of this complicated pain. We used to talk for hours until the morning sun. Now I'm tangled in the silence of the damage we have done. I remember when I called you from the corner store, just to say I loved you, and I couldn't love you more. The connection was so crystal clear, the distance felt so small. Now you're just across the city, but you built a heavy wall. I listen to the static humming softly in my ear, the only kind of whisper that my broken heart can I wanna rip the cord completely out the wall. Stop waiting for a miracle that isn't gonna fall. We're just tangled chords and broken words tonight, twisted up in knots without a single end in sight. I try to pull it straight, but it springs right back again, a physical reminder of this complicated pain. We used to talk for hours until the morning sun. Now I'm tangled in the silence of the damage we have done. Just twisted wires, no connection. Lying on the hood of my rusted machine, staring at the sky like a giant movie screen. Two airplanes flying at 30,000 feet, leaving white lines where the stratosphere meets. They're drawing a picture of you and of me, a beautiful tragedy for the whole world to see. They fly side by side for a moment in time before they drift apart without vastness of an empty blue space. I watch the white clouds slowly start to expand, slipping through the fingers of my reaching hand. We burned up our fuel in a passionate rush, and now we are left with this deafening hush. The passengers up there are heading for home, while I'm on the ground, destined to endlessly I wanna build a ladder and climb to the clouds, scream out my apologies to the indifferent crowds. We are just vapor trails in the fading sky, two parallel lines saying a slow goodbye, drifting apart in the cold thin air, erased by the wind like we were never there. A temporary mark on the atmosphere's face, lost in the vastness of an empty blue space, fading away. Into the blue. White lines are a strobe light flashing in my tired eyes. I've been driving since the sunset, painted up the skies. The radio is humming low, electronic drone. I'm trapped inside this vehicle, 1,000 miles from home. My foot is on the pedal, but my mind is far away, replaying all the arguments we had on that final day. The road is stretching out into a terrifying black, and I know I'm gone too far to ever turn the steering back. I'm caught in the highway hypnosis, lost inside a trance, a high-speed meditation on our deeply failed romance. The glowing dashboard dials are the only momentary panic before they vanish out too far. I need to pull the truck over, I need to get some sleep. But the promises I broke are the promises I keep. I swore that I would leave you and let you find your peace. So I'm driving till this agonizing heartache finds release. I roll the window down to let the freezing winter bite, trying to snap myself awake from this endless night. I'm caught in the highway hypnosis, lost inside a trance, a high-speed meditation on our deeply veiled romance. The glowing dashboard dials are the only stars I see as I drive away from the wreckage of you and me. I'm awake, but I am dreaming, staring at the empty lake, sedated by the rhythm of the engine and the pain. Just the white lines flashing by. The national anthem played an hour or two ago. Now there's nothing on the screen but a synthetic steady glow. I'm sitting on the carpet with my back against the bed, trying to drown out all the ringing in my weary head. The television station signed off for the night, leaving me alone in this artificial light. The vertical lines of yellow, cyan, green, and blue, a colorful projection of a world that's missing you. I'm staring at the midnight color bars on the screen, the most predictable lonely movie that I've ever seen. A broadcast of absolute nothingness filling up the room, a digital companion in this suffocating gloom. The high frequency tone is a flat line in the dark, the sound of a dying frequency, the sound of a broken heart. I lost the remote control somewhere underneath the couch, so I'm sitting in the static with my characteristic slouch. We used to stay up late and watch the late night picture show before the heavy winds of change began to coldly blow. suffocating gloom.
The high frequency tone is a flat line in the dark, the sound of a dying frequency, the sound of a broken heart. Just color bars and a high-pitched beat.
Found it in the ceramic bowl, sitting by the door. A piece of jagged silver I had completely ignored. The spare key to your apartment on the Upper East Side, the place where all our secrets and our promises would hide. I hold it in my palm, feeling the edges sharp and cold. A ticket to a kingdom that I'm no longer allowed to hold. I know you changed the locks the very day I moved away, but this little piece of metal makes me wanna stay. It's just a key to a door I cannot open anymore. A useless piece of brass beside the wooden door, a piece of faded denim that she don't wear anymore. It has a Rolling Stones patch sewn onto the sleeve, a silent woven witness to the night you had to leave. I stare at it for hours when the house is totally still, swallowing a bitter and impossible jagged pill. It still smells like vanilla and the smoke from your cigarette, a beautiful aroma that I never will forget. I'm holding the jacket you left behind in the dark, wrapping the empty fabric completely around my heart. It doesn't keep me warm, it just amplifies the cold, a wearable reminder of a story growing old. I put my arms inside the sleeves and close my heavy eyes, pretending that I'm sheltered from your devastating light. We used to share it, walking down the pier in the wind, huddled close together long before we ever sinned. You'd bury your freezing hands deep inside the pocket space and look up at the moonlight shining down upon my face. Now the pockets are completely empty, just a tick concrete platform is slick with the freezing winds to rise. I'm standing at the altar of my ultimate sacrifice. The yellow warning line is painted faded on the ground. In this massive hollow station, there is not another sound. I've got my collar pulled up high, shivering in the breeze. A broken man who's finally been brought down to his knees. I look down the iron tracks, disappearing in the dark, searching for the train that carried away my heart. I'm standing on the platform of regret tonight, bathed in the unforgiving yellow halogen light. This is the exact spot where I let you walk away, where my foolish pride silenced the words I had to say. Now I'm waiting for a train that is never coming back, a lonely stranded traveler staring down an empty track. I remember how you turned around, tears in your pretty eyes, waiting for me to stop you, waiting for my alibis. But I stood there like a statue, frozen in my own fear, watching the greatest love of my life completely disappear. The conductor blew his whistle, the doors began to slide, and you took off on a journey to the other distant I wanna jump onto the tracks and run across the land to find you in the city and take your beautiful hand. I'm standing on the platform of regret tonight, bathed in the unforgiving yellow halogen light. This is the exact spot where I let you walk away, where my foolish pride silenced the words I had to say. Now I'm waiting for a train that is never coming back, a lonely stranded traveler staring down an empty track. Just an empty station. The train is gone. blinds are drawn, the room is bathed in a single beam of light. I'm sitting in the armchair in the middle of the night. The ashtray is overflowing, the bottle's almost dry. I'm staring at the wallpaper and asking the ceiling why. The smoke is curling upward, twisting in the heavy air, taking on the shape of a girl who isn't there. The ember glow of the cherry is the only fire left inside a heavy chest that is feeling so bereft. It's just cigarettes and silhouettes dancing on the wall, a smoky dark illusion waiting for the final fall. I watch a shadowy figure moving softly through the room, a nicotine hallucination cutting through the gloom. We used to burn so brightly, a passionate wild flame. Now I'm inhaling memories and whispering your name. I pour another glass of whiskey, trying to numb the ache, trying to outrun the massive, devastating mistake. You told me I was toxic, that I pulled you in the deep. Now I'm the one who's drowning, and I cannot even sleep. The smoke alarm is silent, completely dead and blind, just like the fragile logic of my deteriorating I try to grab the shadow, but it slips right through my hand. A phantom in a living room I no longer understand. It's just cigarettes and silhouettes dancing on the wall, a smoky dark illusion waiting for the final fall. I watch a shadowy figure moving softly through the room, a nicotine hallucination cutting through the gloom. We used to burn so brightly, a passionate wild flame. Now I'm inhaling memories and whispering your name. Just smoke in the air, fading to gray.